Okay, remember everybody, I'm not employed right now. Well, I do have one client, but that's only like once or twice a week for an hour. They just want me to make sure that her vital signs are where they should be, things like that. So, virtually unemployed. And I've got a lot of time on my hands, a lot of time to think. And I do spend some time on my YouTube analytics, and I've noticed that almost from the beginning, the most popular video I've done has been the one that's entitled, I think, The Too Many Kids Family System. And I had a discussion with an older gentleman yesterday, and it kind of had a bearing on that in a roundabout way. So the subject under discussion was the fact that there is a difference between religiosity and Christianity. And when you're seeing these cult-like dynamics, at least within the so-called Christian religions, I think that that's where the root of the problem lies. Because people just don't realize that, and I know that the term religion is used in the Bible. True religion and undefiled is this, to visit the fatherless and widows, etc. I understand that. But religion as we use the word today, I think has just become a set of standards. And don't misunderstand me. I have standards. I'm growing my hair long because the Bible says that, how does it express it? The woman's hair is her glory. I wear skirts because the Bible says that the sexes are not to wear each other's clothing. So, yeah, I adhere to those outward things, but I think that that's one reason why these cults get the momentum that they do. They're very much a do this and do not do that. I think another huge problem in these dynamics is the understanding of sin and how can I express what I'm trying to say? The understanding of all sin being equal, I believe that. I think a little white lie is just as serious as murder. I really do. I don't really think that there are degrees of sin. I think there may be degrees of consequences. Does that make any sense? This is where I see a huge problem, because these people from these cult-like backgrounds, these cult-like family systems, these cult-like so-called church communities, they truly don't act as if the crimes, they're crimes, okay? You can't just look at them as sin. They're crimes. And they're crimes against humanity. And they're crimes against the most helpless people on the face of the earth. Children. And these cults come from this perception of all sin being equal. Well, that's fine. I subscribe to that. I personally subscribe to that. But if you take this child that has been so horribly sinned against, and you consider the sin that was committed against God in committing the sin against the child, you compare that with the little white lie over here. What are the consequences? What are the real life, real time, mental, emotional, physical, and especially spiritual consequences of that sin? Isn't that what turns it from being relatively negligible to a crime? And these family systems that have been raised on all sin being equal, in their eyes, it looks, they act as if his crime against this child was no better and no worse than the little white lie. Well, excuse me. He can tell me a little white lie, and I might say, oh, you're a liar, and go on. But he can't do this to this defenseless child and it'll all just go away. It's not happening. And I've seen tapes of these people, I've seen videos of these people, and they'll use the term like bad choice. No, these are not bad choices. These are willful behaviors that these people are engaging in that are seriously harming helpless children and other defenseless people. And so that's what I think that's one of their big hang-ups, is they are either willfully not seeing what the issue really is, or they have been so brainwashed that they can't see what the issue really is. And I mean, this is a very difficult subject, because this girl will realistically not quit paying for this. And the fact that this enormous family is fighting this, I mean, when it first came out, the guy admitted his guilt. He confessed. My understanding is he made a confession to the child's father and to the police. Well, now the same family, everybody's going back on it. He's pleading innocent, and I get that there are legal ramifications to that. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not involved in any of that. I know that there are legal reasons that they're doing that, but I think probably they're also doing it because they simply don't or won't look at the seriousness of what he's done. I mean, this poor little girl. I can't imagine. I imagine that she feels as if there is not a cave far enough in anywhere that she could hide in and escape this situation. I can't imagine what her family feels like. And now you talk about alienation. Oh, my soul. Their own daughter, the child's sister, has turned against her for trying to get help? I mean, you know, I just, it's mind-boggling. It truly is. And so you look at this young woman who has turned against her kid sister, and you're like, well, what in the world is going on with her? What in the world is going on with her? So you go back to the family dynamics. My very real experience of these dysfunctional family dynamics is that it's almost like there's a chessboard, and you have the chess pieces, which are the people, but they're not really people. They're place-keepers. So you have the people, the family members, the chess pieces. And I don't know anything about chess. I mean, I'm a fairly ignorant person, but you know, there is a place on the board for each piece, and then as they play the game, they move the piece to certain places on the board, etc., etc. And that is my impression of these dysfunctional family dynamics. I think that the very stark reality of this situation could be that this young woman is not angry at her kid sister. She doesn't really blame her kid sister. She knows that her kid sister did the right thing. She's angry because the child is not playing the game. The child has a specific place on this chessboard within these family dynamics, and the child stepped out of her place. You can also liken it to a play or a movie. So this young man who did this horrible thing to her, you could almost think of him as a scriptwriter. Okay, I'm going to do this to you, and I'm handing you this script, and this is how you're supposed to react. This is what you're supposed to say. This is what you're supposed to do. Well, that child stepped, to put it more in context, she flubbed her lines. She flubbed her lines. She came out with lines when she went to her dad. She came out with lines that were not on that script. This was not supposed to happen. Not supposed to happen. She flubbed her lines. She stepped out of her place on that chessboard, and she ruined the play. She destroyed the game. And the reason I use it as a chessboard example is because when she stepped out of her place on that chessboard, she more or less scrambled the game. Everybody's going to be running around like chickens with their heads cut off, trying to reassemble on the board. And it seems to me that this is one of the primary things that dysfunctional family members get really, really, really angry about. I don't think that this young woman is so angry at her sister as she is angry that things have been exposed, for sure. But now everybody's having to scramble around in order to get back in their places on the chessboard. And now the script writer is having to go back to the computer and revamp the script and put everybody in a different place on the stage. And he's going to have to redo the script because somebody's flubbed her lines. And that makes these people very angry because yes, it exposes them. It's not a good game. And it most assuredly is not a good play. And so they are not, in spite of all of these kids, in spite of all of these family values, and certainly in spite of the religiosity, the primary purpose is to preserve the optics. That's the primary function of everybody involved. And when people are not preserving the optics, then it's obvious they get targeted. They get targeted. I mean, this huge family on this one side is villainizing this child because she said, well, this is what he did to me. So it doesn't matter that they're destroying the child's life. What matters is preserving their optics. And they're probably, I'm going to be honest with you, I think in these cases, the families don't even look at these individuals as human beings. They certainly don't value them. I mean, I think that's obvious. They do not value you as a human being. They don't value you as an individual. You are valued only in so much as you contribute to the optics. And yes, I believe that there's usually one person who's at the top of these family pyramids, if that's what you want to call them. You could think of that person as, again, the scriptwriter, the chess player, the puppeteer. I mean, that's a really good term, would be puppeteer, because this one person is trying to control everybody's words, everybody's conversations, everybody's behavior, everybody's place on the stage. And then when somebody gets, if you will, rebellious, and they're not playing the game anymore, they're going to get attacked. And not only are they going to get attacked, there are just times, quite frankly, when the dysfunctional families will target that person and literally do their doggonedest to destroy that person in every way. In every way. So, it's not, we look at it and we're like, oh my soul, what is wrong with those people? Are they crazy or what? I don't know that they're crazy. I do know that there's something very wrong with their thinking. I don't know that they're crazy. There's something wrong with their thinking. And as for the matriarch, I saw a picture, and I don't want to be unkind. I truly don't want to. I don't want to target. I don't want to attack. But I saw a picture of the matriarch the other day, and I just felt so sorry for her because she didn't, the expression in her eyes, it didn't look right somehow. It was very disturbing. It was almost a combination. I'll tell you what it reminded me of. It reminded me of a wild animal in a trap. That's what the expression in this woman's eyes reminded me. A wild animal in a trap. The expression in the eyes was, dare I say it, crazed with fear and apprehension. And do they want to control the narrative? Yes, they do. Does this poor woman want to control the narrative? Yes, she does. And where she and all of these girls in these family systems are coming from is a lifetime of brainwashing that these men deserve a form of worship. They really do. These cults take, and I've said this before, they take the biblical doctrine of the authority of the man in the home, and boy, they take it to a whole level that I believe God highly disapproves of. And this is part of it. It is truly as if these family dynamics run on the premise that whatever the head honcho says goes, and it doesn't matter what the cost to anybody else. And B, all of the junior head honchos, it's the same for them within their own little families. So, it really is. It's like a family pyramid. And these women truly believe that that they're serving the kingdom by this abject subservience to these horribly dysfunctional men. And truly, no, common sense does not come into it. They've been so criticized for taking these boys' problems to the church. Now, I understand that. I understand that because I come from a fundamentalist background that distrusts the government, especially law enforcement. They were always looked upon as kind of robbing each family of its individual autonomy. And maybe in some cases that's true. I mean, I know a lot of people I used to know this lady who, she was the foster mother of many, many, many foster children, but she hated CYFD because she said that what they engaged in, now this is what she says, not what I say. She said that what they engaged in was a form of kidnapping. So I get that some people are highly distrustful of law enforcement. But hey, when you've got a grown man and he's doing something like this to a minor child, you need to call law enforcement and turn that guy in. I don't care if you're his mother. I don't care if you're his wife, his sister. I don't care. He needs to be turned in. And I don't know if I've confided this or not. Now, it took me years to make the decision, which is why I understand where these women are coming from. But I did actually go to the police with my concerns about the husband's activities. I did that twice. And in neither case, for some bizarre reason, were the police willing to help me. I think in both cases they said they had no probable cause. So yeah, I never did look up the definition of probable cause, so I don't know what they were talking about. But yeah. But it took me a while to get there. God forgive me, it took me a while to get there. And these women are terrified. They're terrified of the family system. They're terrified of the head of the family system, and they're terrified of all the lieutenants in the family system. They've been brainwashed into believing that they have absolutely no rights and no privileges, and they have been conditioned to go to their very abusers for safety. And that's a whole different story. But yeah, that's what they're dealing with. That's what we're seeing. And I don't know if it makes it any easier for people to understand. It's a very, and again, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist, but it's a very convoluted, terrifying, entrapping situation to be in. And you know, you are, it's kind of like in the old me. I'll tell you what it's like, and this may sound kind of off the wall, but I love to watch the Dead End Kids, the Bowery Boys, the East Side Kids. You know, it was the same group of people, and they were known by different names. And in one of those movies, they're trying to get out of the reform school. And the reform school is very proud of saying, there are no fences and there are no walls. You can walk out anytime you want. But we'll send the dogs after you, and the dogs will tear you to pieces. That's the situation that these women are in. And I hope that I have helped some people have a little bit more comprehensive understanding of what they're seeing going on. There are no fences and there are no walls. You are absolutely right. But if these women even think about leaving, if they even check out mentally or emotionally, much less physically, the dogs are going to come after them and they're going to tear them to bits. Thank you all so very much. Like I said, I have a lot of time on my hands, and I have a lot of thoughts around which I'd like to rant. So now that I've got the opportunity, I'm going to rant. And thank you for your patience. Give me some comments. Please like the channel, subscribe, share. I'm having fun doing this, and I want to hear from everybody. Thank you all so much. Bye-bye.